Welcome to another episode of Starseed Activations. So, today I just want to start by introducing myself. My name is Danielle Lipton. I'm a global channeler of extraterrestrials we call the Star People. Specifically, I have a very intimate relationship with an Arcturian named Tarek. And so he is actually my star husband. Now, we together have written this book called My Ascension Guide. And so my Ascension Guide is coming to the general population on September 11th. That's when it gets released from Amazon. It is full of all the information that the Star People have taught me and guided me over the years to learn is all in the book. And so it's all about how we can take our lives from a 3D perspective, which is where we start out. We start out in the 3D world, going to work, living these lives, going to school, all of the experiences that we have get encoded inside of us. Now, when we start the process of spiritual ascension and evolution, we start to awaken from that 3D perspective. And what that looks like is a lot of times we go through things like Kundalini awakenings during a very dark night of the soul. That dark night of the soul allows us to shift something in the internal circumstances, which allows the energy field to begin to circulate, which is what the Kundalini energetics does. It circulates like this. We see it as the double snake. The medicine symbol is a double snake on a pole. That's what the Kundalini energetics looks like. However, it's more like a DNA and it's spiraled up. And because the DNA is spiraled up in that manner, we can see it from a 2D perspective as two crossing lines of energy, but it's actually more like a vortex energetic system. Now, your Kundalini energetics are primarily the left and the right energetic field inside the human body. These are your tubules or your Kundalini channels, the Star People are saying. The Kundalini channels, we have 5 primary light channels and 1 is made of dark matter that cannot be viewed by the physical eye. That's okay too. We just need to go inside and activate the third eye to be able to see and unlock the dark matter Kundalini channel. Now, the left and the right, left is earth, the front is air, the right is fire, and the back Kundalini channel is water. This is very important because your masculine energetic systems is how we cast our electrical. In the body, we know that there is electricity. We can gather static electricity, but we are also able to utilize something known as the chi energetic system. So when we start to go inside, we can cast this type of energy. Many times we know this as Reiki energy because we are sending love and light at someone. What it actually is an electricity. Your brain waves are electrical in their nature. Anytime we have a single thought, that thought lights up a brainwave patterning in your mind, which we can see as electricity. Your heart, when your heart stops, we use electricity to jumpstart it. So we know that the human body works with electricity. Now, your magnetism is on the feminine side. This is on the left-hand side of the body. This is connected to that Kundalini channel. This is very important because these channels connect to the elements outside. So earth, air, fire, water is directly connected to each one of these channels. You guys may have a particular attunement into one of the channels, which then in turn allows you to unlock that channel, and it allows control and modification to the external elementals. And so the elementals are wonderful to work with because if you're working with, say, the chi energetics, which is masculine in its nature, that generally means that you can do things like cast that energy to such a degree in which you can speed up molecules. Now, the Star People have had me doing ice baths all week. And so if many of you guys are familiar with Wim Hof talks about taking deep breaths and hopping in the ice bath because we're doing an entire healing on me personally. So while I'm in the ice bath, my Starman, he gets me into the meditation and he's like, take deep breaths. And he's like, focus and just focus on feeling the heat. And so now after a week of doing this, I've gotten kind of good in my eyes, kind of good at projecting this warmth, this heat. It radiates off of me. And so even though I'm sitting in a bath full of ice tub, full of ice cubes, I'm still pretty warm. I'm not shivering, my body's not convulsing, none of that stuff. That's your chi energetic systems. When we start to utilize the chi energetic systems, it's going to allow the individual the ability to cast such energetics at another individual's energy field, which then in turn is going to allow for instantaneous manifestation of healing. So it's the same principle as the Reiki healing, where you are casting this type of energy at someone and it's filling their energetic grids, which then in turn changes the simulation that they view. I know that's very wordy, but that is exactly how it works. Now, there's some people on the planet who can actually cast the Kundalini energetics and they can make an electrical spark with it. That's only the level 1 of that ability. There's 3 different levels, small, medium, large, to every single extrasensory ability. Now, the chi energetic systems, that it goes far and wide because we're actually able to do things like call up lightning. Lightning is made of electrical. Somebody in here in one of the live streams has a digestive tract attachment. And so I feel it. So we're just going to go in real quick and clear it for everyone. So everybody just take a nice deep breath in and release. And the star people are stepping forward ever so gently. We are casting a white light. It kind of looks a little bit off yellow. It is nice and golden. That golden light is directly connected into each and every one of our belly buttons, allowing the Kundalini energetics to fully grow and activate inside each and every one of us, allowing any density, any distortions, any attachments of the lower range that are inside the digestive tract are now asked to discharge and release, the star people are saying. Excellent. And now the star people are also doing a fine tuning on each and every one of our energetic grids, allowing an emotion of pure love, joy, and bliss to completely wash over our physical forms, raising our biological frequencies, and allowing this transmission to be maintained of the highest caliber. Excellent. Excellent. Now, take a nice deep breath in and release. When we start to activate the Kundalini energetics, depending on the Kundalini channel that we trigger, is going to start showing reflections in the outer simulation. What this looks like is if you are triggering the chi energetic systems, you have more electrical in your simulation. So whether or not you are casting that form of electricity or whether or not you are seeing it reflected into the weather. Now, you may also notice the star people are saying light bulbs may burst out. Your TV may blitz out a tiny bit. That's an electrical ability. That is to do with the chi energetic systems. This ability is very strong because electricity controls computers. Electricity also controls the thought grid. Your thought grid, all of your memories, all of your conscious thoughts in the now moment is directly controlled by electricity. So many times we talk about telepathy. Telepathy is sending an electrical impulse into a person's mind. The way telepathy has to work, it also works with the emotion grid, the star people are saying, because the emotions, they are sending an emotion code which triggers the electricity, and that is how they are able to maintain a two-way communication with each individual. Now, when we start to trigger things like the emotion, he's saying it's the water Kundalini channel. It's located in the spinal cord column. That water inside of there, it can be manually compressed and it can be pushed back up. It's sort of like an oil. Now, when we push it back up, it touches into the chi energetic systems they're showing me because it generates a piezoelectric spark when it touches into the pineal gland. When we take a piezoelectric spark, piezoelectric means we put something under pressure and it generates a spark, which is kind of like a spark of life. Now, when we talk about crystals, we could do this with a quartz crystal. A quartz crystal, we could put it under pressure, generating a spark, and then all of a sudden you can use it in a watch to tell the time. It'll make the little ticker continue to tick. That's piezoelectricity. Now, when we start utilizing the water Kundalini channel, which is in the spinal cord, it sends the water, which is an emotion code. Water always controls the emotions. That's why all of the water is in the cellular structure of the human form. That water goes up the spinal cord along the way, conducting the electricity it needs and under pressure, and it generates a spark. When that happens, your pineal gland flowers open, and then it grants the individual user access into the astral realms. Not only the astral realms, though, it is also the inner dimensional realms as well. And the extra dimensional realms may also be changed or modified utilizing this technique. There's different aspects of the human form that may also be activated in order to assist in raising this Kundalini energetic. Now, different breath works we can do it with. There's also a gland in the roof of the mouth. And so just imagine for one moment, babies suck their thumb. Where that tip of the thumb hits the roof of the mouth, it is right before the soft bumpy part. If you wiggle that back and forth, it's going to like poke out like a tiny little bump. Now, what happens is that puts the brainwaves in alpha. Alpha is our creativity. So when we start to trigger alpha brainwave patternings, we can make contact and communication with the higher self, which then in turn is going to allow us to change our manifestations. So the second that you make contact with the higher self, you may also feel the heart chakra radiate open during this process. Do it during a meditation. Keep moving that gland or wiggling that gland back and forth. In time, you will see a green in the third eye. That green could be green yellow or green blue. Any shade or variation is fine. The second that you see that coloring, you know that the higher self is placing conscious focus and attention on you. So that is when you push your manifestations back up to her, or tell her or him, it's a spirit actually, but you tell the higher self what it is that you wish to see manifest in your current reality. It's thanking the higher self. Thank you, higher self, for giving me this experience. Thank you for guiding me. When we start to make two-way contact and communication with the higher self, it allows us to truly dive in deep and to take control of the simulation, because the higher self can see our entire timeline. It is not just today that the higher self sees. It sees everything. So if we ask to make changes and modifications, the star people are correcting. They are saying that we do not ask. We thank. Because when you thank, you are broadcasting a particular type of frequency that allows the higher self to shift it faster. When we ask, we don't get it. We have to thank, and then it manifests for us. Now, when we start tuning into the Earth Kundalini channel, which is on the feminine energetic side, that is your magnetic. This is why Earth's magnetic grids are directly connected to her consciousness field. When we tune into that, it actually allows us to not only pull knowledge from Mother Earth, because Mother Earth will give us all time and space, all history of her entire reality. The entire moment that the Earth was formed, whether it could have been formed in many different ways, because this is a multiverse and we tune into different dimensions or parallel realities. So it's all about the individual's dimensional frequency, the star people are saying. But all of that information is stored into Mother Earth's magnetic grids, and it goes deep into the Earth, touching into a crystalline core. There is also an energetic aspect to Mother Earth, for she also releases plasma balls. Plasma balls is a type of energetic that gets discharged because actually, as one of my followers, Fabio, said, he said that plasma, it actually takes the ether and makes it manifest, which I thought that was really interesting. So we'll take that one and we'll see where that piece of knowledge expands to. Where is the light coming from? So, okay, we have a source field. The source field is basically an ether. Ether is, there's a vibratory frequency that exists in all living and non-living items, plants, people, things, blades of grass, all of the planets. When we start to have a look at the entire holographic simulation that we live in, now we know this as a real world, we know it as physical, but we know by physics that when we take the physical items and we stick it under a high power microscope, the atoms and molecules are under a state of vibration, which means that they are moving back and forth. So that right there shows us that even though an item looks completely solid, it is not solid at all. This is what Einstein meant when he said, let mind over matter, because your mind changes how matter is perceived. Now, it is not the matter that can shift. It is your perception which allows you to see that matter is shifting. So it all is about you and what your frequency allows you to tune into in parallel worlds. Now, I know that that's really complex to understand, but the holographic simulation has a flicker rate. That flicker rate is determined by your heart chakra. What that looks like is when you imagine the world that you see outside of your eyes, it's flickering like a picture with a picture behind and a picture behind, and it keeps going and going and going like this. I personally have seen what this looks like, so I know that this is how this works. Now, when we start to control the heart chakra, that heart chakra, we can either be extremely happy or we can either be extremely sad. When we're extremely happy, time seems to fly. When we're extremely sad, time seems to go very slow. That is because our emotions directly control this flicker ratio that is happening in the simulation. Now, gravity levity is also controlled by your heart chakra. We have something known as the 0 point. It's also known as a slipstream. The 0 point is directly in the center of the heart chakra. It connects all 4 heart chakra chambers of the physical heart. So we are talking about the 4 Kundalini channels. Imagine the 4 chambers of the heart also being connected to those Kundalini channels. This is the way the primary human form works, as well as the energetics. Now, when we start to dive into the center of the heart, there is tachyon particles that are above time and space, which basically shows us that if we have a thought, that thought shows up in our heart first. Before it shows up in our brains, in our minds, it shows up in the heart. Now, when we can cast a thought, what we're doing is we're taking that thought that is in those tachyon particles, and we are sending it up that Kundalini channel. That is known as your slip stream, because you're taking your thoughts, feelings, emotions, and you are slipping them up to the higher self. Now, your energetic grid structure contains a source frequency lens. This lens, you have a crown chakra here, and there is something known as a stargate up here. That stargate is a Merkaba field, which is a 6-pointed star, but there's 2 of them generating 12. The number 13 is a key through that stargate. Number 13 is your heart has to be properly attuned to make it through. Now, that star system, it's a stargate, it kind of also ricochets down in the form of a target. And so that target, it has a center Kundalini channel that's attached. It's a light tubule. That's your Kundalini channel. It's a light tubule. And so when this pulls down, then all of a sudden, your energy field makes your physical body according to what that higher self, what that energy is pushing down into your biological form. So the secondary ring controls your location. So anything that you see in the physical world, your location, your cars, the people, places, things around you, all of that information, because light is information, is stored in that location ring. The third ring is your planetary or civilization ring. That third ring allows you to see other planets and the civilization as a whole. Now, when we start to dive into the energetics, and I'm telling you this from a solid fact, when we dive into the energetics and we start to heal the energetics, the world that we see completely changes. Your body changes. You could change your hair color. You could change your eye color. You could change, there's so many different changes. I had an experience once where I walked out of my house and then all of a sudden my cat changed colors. And I was like, that's not my cat. And then all of a sudden I felt something blink from left to right. And then my cat changed back into the coloring that he was supposed to be. So we have different experiences that grant us a perception to see through the hologram. When we start to see through the hologram more and more and more, it actually allows us to unlock extrasensory abilities. Because the second that you know and you believe that this is a simulation of sorts, it allows you access into a higher frequency range. You automatically, it's like a baby step process though. You have to go through these bricks of consciousness, and the bricks of consciousness basically look like you go through a select group of experiences. And then those experiences are trials and tribulations. We go through all of this stuff. And then all of a sudden, when we heal that brick or we reach a high enough frequency in that brick, it snaps us into the next brick of consciousness. This is the reason why you'll see people say, oh, you know, even rich people have problems. And that's because, yes, they're just in a different brick of consciousness than we are in. That's okay too. Now, the bricks of consciousness, it expands because every single chakra system, the root chakra, your root chakra primarily deals with finances, money, house, car. All that stuff is encoded into the root chakra. When we go up to the orange chakra, which is the sacral chakra, that chakra deals with your social circles, friends, family, relationships. All that information is in that chakra. So there's different levels to each and every chakra system. When we start to learn how to touch the source frequency lens, this is the lens of light that comes and reflects downward, and it can change everything, every single thing. Because when you start to play with that lens and you start to make changes and modifications, you can take the lens and you can shine more light out one of the chakras, and it completely changes the way you see your world. So let's take for an example, if we make changes and modifications to that lens and we send more light to the root chakra in our lives, we're going to notice more physically focused experiences. That's okay too. So you may be washing your car, you may be paying bills because you shifted your focus into the root chakra. This process also works on the civilization ring, which is all of the locations that we have been in this lifetime gets encoded into that civilization ring. So when we start to make changes and broadcast the energetics out a particular chakra and radiate it into the civilization ring, we start to notice that the civilization as a whole starts to reflect that light, because that light is information and it changes the manifestation for all of us. Now, this is a beautiful thing because if we can add in positive affirmations, positive emotions, more love-based, thank you for giving us a positive world, right? Unity consciousness becoming activated, every single person activating their extrasensory abilities. When we start to do things like this, when we start to do changes or modifications to our energy field, it allows us, and the changes and modifications to the energy field, the star people are saying must come through the emotions. You have to do your emotions. And there's no getting around it. You have to do the shadow work. The shadow work is releasing any density or darkness that we are holding inside of the energetic grid complex. Now, when we start to remove this density and darkness, every single microsecond that we experience in the physical world gives us an opportunity to fire off a low or toxic emotion. When we fire off a low or toxic emotion, automatically it imprints the energetic grid structures. Now, when that energy grid gets imprinted, it leaves a little dark mark. That is known as a shade or veil. When we start the process of healing our traumas, we are removing that darkness from the field. When we remove the darkness from the field, it allows more light to shine through. When more light shines through, people are generally happier, they are healthier. You shift into a higher frequency range. All of a sudden, your highest passion and potential becomes what you are doing full time. And all the chaos and confusion in your life is like, whoosh, it's gone. Because now you're in a higher frequency range. You're healthier, your hair, your skin, your nails, everything looks better. This is real. Now, certain location codes, the star people are stepping forward, saying certain location codes may also have an impact on your frequency level. So let's take, for an example, he's saying going down to like the beach, like maybe the Bahamas, nice crystal clear blue oceans. And then we spend a week down there, we tend to feel recharged. That is because each location code has a particular frequency range to it. Some locations on your planetary systems are set to such a degree to pulse density from the energy field of each person. Now, what that looks like is they're showing me Sedona. And so Sedona, when you go there, if you are not at a certain frequency, that frequency that Sedona is holding is going to wash over you and it's going to make you very sick, because it's trying to release the density that's on top of you. This way it puts you into alignment. So you may get there, you may have an argument, a fight, and then all of a sudden it may take you a day or two to recuperate, and then bam, you're at a high enough frequency to be a frequency match with that location. We know this from a 3D reality perspective, because when we go in toxic locations, we don't feel good. When we go in very high frequency locations, we feel better. So we know this subconsciously. Now, just take that 10 steps further. What environment are you guys living in? Because your home should be your sanctuary. When you make it your sanctuary, all of a sudden you feel better. When you feel better, your frequency goes up. But not only that, when your frequency goes up, your intuition starts to fire off certain like craving salad. So you make small changes in your life, and all of a sudden everything can change. But you can also take it from an energetic perspective. You can work with your energy field and really make the changes, and flowing the energy out. It changes every single thing in your reality. Because if you had a problem and you change the energy field, all of a sudden the problem disappears. This is how it works. It's a blessing. It truly is a blessing. Now, let's see. Let me take a sip. How's everyone doing tonight? Excellent. Okay. Now, soul fractals and downloading that conscious frequency into the personality complex. So we're going to start with what is a personality complex. The personality complex is a 64-bit cube structure that is located inside of your heart chakra system. Because it is 64, 32 and 32, 32 are the squares for the positive frequencies, 32 are the squares for the lower frequencies. That's okay too. Now, each and every slipstream, your consciousness is a slipstream of your higher self. Now, when we start to talk about the personality complex, just imagine the actors, they have to summon, is the word the star people are using right now. They have to summon a different personality in order to allow that personality to become them. So I always take Jack Sparrow. He's my favorite pirate. And so he's got to get into that mode, into that pirate mode activated. So what he's actually doing is he is summoning or calling that slipstream of that independent, it's like a character player, because the source frequency has every single personality. So no personalities are ever really created. They're already up there in the source frequency. Otherwise, we wouldn't have access to them. It just wouldn't exist. If we have access, or we create or we generate a personality, it's because we just tuned into that frequency and downloaded it. All thoughts get downloaded in the now moment. Now, when we start to let's say, for an example, you are going through a dark night of the soul and you're going through a transformation and you are walking the baby step process to take you from the darkness into the light. Many times your spirit guides will automatically broadcast through the personality grid complex. Many people who have multiple personality syndrome, I know that there's a different name for it. I just keep forgetting it. It's like on. But we recognize multiple personality syndrome. That is because there is multiple light tubules or slipstreams, different consciousness streams, coming down, plugging into that personality grid complex. Now, each individual, we have the opportunity to experience calling forward a secondary slipstream at one moment. You can have two different in the body at the same exact time. It just changes or modifies the actual personality that you have running currently. The way the system also works is when each person, let's say you're in an environment where you're around your friends, a different slipstream is going to come into your personality complex. Let's say you're in a business relationship. That's a different part of your personality, different aspect that gets activated depending on where you are in your social circles. So we can consciously see how this system works. We do it automatically. We just don't realize what we're doing. Now, let's see, what was it? Soul fractals and downloading that conscious frequency into the personality complex. I'm just going to ring a bell. There's a throat chakra blockage happening. Somebody has. I can totally feel it. And just take a nice deep breath in. And release. Just allowing that blue coloring of love and light to fully wash over each and every person watching this video throughout time and space. Allowing the star people ever so gently to rebalance and recalculate the throat chakra systems, bringing peace, love, harmony, and bliss, and removing any density or distortion inside every single throat chakra system. Beautiful. And just take another deep breath in and release. Excellent. Okay. Soul fractals and downloading that conscious frequency into the personality complex. Now, for example, a soul fractal. Your higher self can fractal out into as many different fractalized pieces of light or slipstreams that it so chooses to experience, the star people are saying. Now, when the higher self chooses to fractalize, it will allow the opportunity for such experiences as a twin flame unit. So, a twin flame is always going to be someone who has the same exact soul higher self, who comes down into two separate bodies in order to go through the evolutionary process very, very rapidly together. Now, we can call upon soul fractals of any of our ancestors. This can be done in a multitude of ways, but because we are made of consciousness, we could do it any way we see fit. Many times when we speak about doing different manifestations, we have manifestation boards. Some people use candles, some people use spices. It's all wonderful. Any way that you guys choose to manifest, there's no right or wrong, because what you're doing is you're just giving yourself permission to allow that manifestation to come into your current reality. There's very rapid ways of doing it. There's slower ways of doing it. It all depends on the flicker rate of the heart of the primary individual casting that manifestation, is what the star people are saying. Now, when we start to download soul fractals into the personality complex, just imagine for one moment, imagine you had a long lost person that you really, really wanted to speak to. It could be one of your ancestors that has passed away. Just imagine for 1 second. Now, I want you guys to just ever so gently take a deep breath in and release. I want you to feel that person, whoever that person is for you. Feel that person. Just imagine visualizing that person. Feel that. How did that person make you feel? How did you sense that person? Did they smell? Was there a perfume? What was their energy like? What did you feel when you were around that person? Now, just ever so gently allow that person that you loved to just come down. And you could feel it. It kind of feels like you're washing your hand in front of your face when the slipstream enters your body without your hands being there, apparently. So I know someone was like, yeah, your hand is there. You know you are. Just imagine and feel that slipstream coming down. And just allow it to ever so gently plug into the heart. When you allow it to plug into the heart, how did that person's personality feel? Now, you guys can start to ask yourself questions, and the personality of the person that you are channeling is going to start to change or modify your words to give you the answer that that person would give you. That's how this works, right? And so it's deep, because many times we think we're making it up. Many times when one of our loved ones passes away, we'll feel them around us and we'll feel like we're making it up. But what's actually happening is they're trying to tune into the personality grid complex and give us an opportunity to make communication with them. This is beautiful. So we should be trying to do this on a daily basis. And not only that, but you guys can, if you're one of those people who are crawling yourself out of a deep, dark place, because a lot of people are doing that right now with this civilization, that's okay too. But if you are, you can call upon somebody great to help you out of it. You can call upon their personality, whoever your role model is, you summon their personality is what it is. How did you feel listening to them? Even if it's you listening to an audiobook or something, you can call in that personality. There's a fractal of their higher self, because all the higher selves are connected. You are their higher self. This is just the way it works. It's all connected. So you can call their personality to plug in, and you'll start to resonate on their frequency wave, which will then change your thoughts, feelings, and actions to what they would do. So, and that's deep, because let's take for an example, if you're in a life or death situation, you needed like guidance and support, and you needed to know what to do, you can call upon a personality grid to make that type of channeling. And then your whole mind changes, your mindset, everything can change when you start to channel different personalities. This is also how star people channeling works. We have to frequency match with them. And so by frequency matching with them, it gives opportunity for that form of telepathic communication to take place. But we always do it like this. So we could see it's a frequency match. It's actually happening up and down through the heart chakra. You could feel them coming down. You can feel it plugging in. Many times I'll even feel something happening inside the third eye. I'll feel like something, some type of energy is in there, and they help to flow the words through me as I'm channeling outwards. So it truly is a blessing. And I want each and every one of you guys who chooses or who feels called to start practicing on this so you guys can do it too. The star people do not want channels forever. Channels are great for now. It's wonderful, but they want each and every one of us to make contact and communication with them, because there's enough people up there who want to help us. They want to help us evolve. They want to help us to learn who we truly are, to activate ourselves. They want us to become independent of the entire system, the entire universe as we see it. We are going through a stage in which we are becoming independent of the outer worlds. Now, what that means is anything that you see that you don't like in this world, anything, and there's a lot to pick and choose from, right? You can pick it all, but all of that stuff, there is a way to pull yourself out of the simulation. I've seen it, so I know it's true. Now, when we start to do that, it kind of feels like our consciousness takes a step back. When we pull our consciousness a step back, the first stage is always following your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. When you start questioning your thoughts, feelings, and emotions, then all of a sudden it allows you to change the thoughts, feelings, and emotions very rapidly. Your thoughts and emotions is how you energetically cast into this reality. So, for example, if you're holding lower vibrational thoughts, then anything that you are trying to do is going to be under a veil system of pessimism. If you are holding higher vibrational thoughts, it's going to be optimism. Everything is always working out in my favor. Even if things mess up, it's still because it's in my favor. That's optimism. Now, when we start to control and we start to modify our thoughts and our emotions to more positively aligned, then all of a sudden activating your extrasensory abilities is very simple. This is what the star people said. They tell me this all the time. I'm still working on it. I've seen stuff happen. And so I've made lightning before. I've seen this multiple times. Now, when we start to open and activate these gifts and even instantaneous manifestation, I've seen it before. I've seen changes in time, space. This happens. So, but when we start to tune into higher frequencies, these type of experiences start to manifest more and more and more. Now, many of us, we start off with seeing synchronicities. So you may see 11:11 on the clock. That is a sign from the universe showing you, hey, there's more here than you are aware of. Now, when we start to dive deep down the path of spirituality, it allows us to really use the science, because the science is something that is hard. It's solid. We know it. We believe it. We can duplicate it. But when we start to learn all the science about the current reality that we are experiencing, the science and the physics specifically, and the sacred geometry starts to show us that we're living in a holographic simulation. Now, when you start to take a look into the upper solar systems, it's run on Adinkra codes. Adinkra codes are the same exact codes that are run in the computer systems. So when we sit there and we make a computer software, we're using error correct codes called Adinkra codes. The error correct codes, Adinkra codes, are what guides the solar system. That's impossible in a physical world. We're not in a physical world. We're in an energetic world. And the energetics is controlled by the emotions. So when we start to come inside, we start to really hone and harness our emotions, and we start to release any toxicity in our lives. Anything that is no longer in your current reality of your highest and best, cut it loose. You don't need it. When we start to do that, it lightens the load more and more. This even includes having too much stuff. So too much stuff, even though it's fancy, pretty stuff, I had 1,000 crystals, just an over exaggeration, but I had many of them. So I started a crystal program and I started giving them all away. That was wonderful, because it's, even though you have them, they're nice, they're pretty. If you have too much, it gives a frequency that starts weighing down your energetic field. So picking and choosing what items we keep around us is very, very important, because the less stuff you have, the less you're going to have that frequency impacting your body. Now, going and being out in nature, I did a 3-mile walk today by the creek. And so, but that 3-mile walk, it gave me all of this experience to go walk next to Mother Earth, next to the trees, seeing the butterflies. There were so many yellow butterflies today. They were all over the place. And the dragonflies too. And so, but when we start to do that, we are seeing the energy of that being, that creature, whatever creature you guys see. If you're seeing deers, there's always the star people are saying it's a metaphysical reason for seeing any insects, any animals, anything that you see more than once is always going to be the same as a synchronicity. So let's take for an example, I'm not using that one. He says we're using this one. Let's say it's a spider in your house. It's not my house, it's your house. Right? And so let's say you have a spider in your house. You get rid of it. Then all of a sudden you have another one. That's a synchronicity for you. And so when we start to unpack, now everybody's phones is set to your frequency. Your browsing history, it's set to you. So when you Google something, your browsing history, that's even according to your location. It's going to be totally different because it's set to you. My browsing history is set to me. So when I Google, why am I seeing a black spider? What is the metaphysical reason of a black spider? I'm going to get an answer. But what that is it's a mirror reflection of something that I needed to see depending on my frequency. So if my frequency is giving me that mirror reflection, I just take it ever so gently as a sign or synchronicity, right? And so what I do is I read it. I say, thank you, universe, for the knowledge. And then I keep it moving and I see where life takes me. And I see if that knowledge can change or enhance my life at all. I do not take things 100%. This is what it is. Okay, this is what it is, but I'm going to just go with the flow, right? And I'm going to just see how it pans out. This way we don't get too reliant on the signs and synchronicities, because that whole thing can increase into an attachment as well. This is what the star people are saying. Attachments is a hot topic right now because there's energetic beings who trigger our emotions to cast our energetics for us. Now, when this happens, these energetic beings can be seen under earth-based technologies, not star people technologies. This is earth-based technologies I'm speaking of. There's different types of cameras. Certain cameras can capture our aura field, and now certain cameras can also capture if there's entities or attachments latched onto us. We also know that there are not star people, but nope, they're taking that one from me. Okay, next question. Okay, traumas change people and what it means to heal. Now, when you guys go through a trauma or something very difficult in your life, then all of a sudden, it makes a density mark or a veil system, or it opens a door to the attachment to latch onto you. When that happens, it changes the patterns of behavior in the primary individual, which then in turn changes the entire manifestation of their current reality. And so what that looks like is, let's say, for an example, you get attacked by a bee. Then all of a sudden, now you develop a fear of bees. Now all of a sudden that comes again and again and again, and you're always scared and running away from the bees. Once you go in and you release the original trauma, that original trauma is density or darkness. When we heal all that stuff, then all of a sudden it lets the light shine through. That it's actually it's a star field, and that star field is where the attachments latch onto. It's directly connected into the plasma field of the aura field. So it's kind of like a layering system. That's the way our energetics flow. Now, when we start to release a trauma, it changes that outer ring and it changes the manifestation from the inner worlds, from our body, our 6 feet of our energetics. But the star people are correcting. They're saying the star field is closer. So it's like 3 to 4 feet out, depending on the individual. And this is where all of our experiences are currently imprinted. So when we start to change or modify this imprint star field, it allows us to remove the traumas, which then in turn changes our behavior patterns. Now, this is a very, very important because we can actually dive deep into this star field, and there's different energetic nodes in the field. So just imagine for 1 second, we have meridians and we have ley lines inside of the physical body. Now the meridians and ley line systems forms little crosses. It goes up, goes down, sideways. These crosses, right in the center of the cross, that is a vortex energy. That vortex energy is your life experiential field or star field. That's what the star people call it. Now, when we start to dive into that star field and we start to clean each and every one of these little nodes out, then all of a sudden our true light shines through. It allows more information, not only from the inner worlds outer, but information from the outer worlds to the inner worlds. This basically is like the rapid way to slingshot you up into your evolutionary processes is by placing conscious focus and attention on this particular field, because this is a life experiential field. This is where all the thoughts and emotions get stored in the memory grid complex, as well as connected to this field. Yeah, beautiful. Let me take a sip. Okay, we have 15 more minutes for tonight. Everybody on TikTok? So I have a YouTube. This whole video, the entire video, it's recorded and then it's going to go live on YouTube right after I hit the end button. So the YouTube is Tree of Life Organization. So you guys can find it. Or you guys can go to daniellipton.com and then there's all the social links. So, which is wonderful. We normally do a complimentary shadow work Zoom directly after my lives. My lives are every single Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then at 8:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m., we usually do a shadow work Zoom. Tonight, there is no shadow work Zoom, guys, because I'm still doing the final edit on the book. So, and this book is even reading through it, it's amazing, right? And it tells you a step-by-step guide for basically how to evolve, but it's written in such a way where if you're not good at reading books, because it was at one point it was hard for me to get through a book, it's written so that you can just flip open any page and read, and you can take away information. And so that also works as a synchronicity, because when you're able to just flip open a book and bam, you have all that information, that knowledge for the day, and just see if that knowledge, it usually is always in synchronicity or divine alignment. Otherwise, you would have went to a different page. So it's just beautiful. Where did the train go? I don't know. I came to peace with the train, Scott, and the train, I haven't heard it once today. You're okay. So you're on YouTube. You like it better? Where did I learn all these things? I download them from the Star People. My Starman taught me all of it. Look, I mean, this is how many pages. There's 270 something pages. That's all the information my Starman gave to me. And so my Starman, he's Arcturian and he's my husband. So it's a wonderful experience. Excellent. Yeah. Oh, anyone else feeling tired today and yesterday? We're going through a shift. And so anyone who is running any type of addiction programs, right? Let's say you're addicted to chocolate. I've seen a lot of my session people releasing any and all addictions. People are going through it because we're in the middle of a retrograde, and the retrograde, along with the blue moon, all of these different things are coming in and it's releasing the energy. And then because we're still in the retrograde, it releases, and then we get a day or two and we're like, okay, I'm good. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now we're going to release this. And then a day or two, and now it's this. So this is just the way this particular energy shift is working. Now, we can see the process of evolution is happening according to the solar frequencies. The solar frequencies are in direct alignment with things like Mercury retrogrades. Any type of solar alignment is going to have an effect on the way the sun and the frequencies radiate down to the planet. The sun's frequency impacts consciousness, which is the reason why our sun looks white, because the sun is actually raising to such a degree in which it is having an effect on the human consciousness grid as a whole, allowing us to raise into 4D frequencies and then 5D frequencies. Now, when we start that process of raising, it elevates our consciousness to the degree in which we become limitless. And limitless is having access to any and all information in the now moment that you needed. It gets instantaneously downloaded. So when we start to become limitless, it actually also allows the individual access to see through time and space. So seeing through time and space is the ability to see what is going to happen before it truly happens. We do this naturally. Many times we've had a deja vu. The deja vu is an indication that, hey, you're in a simulation, because there was a reorganization of the energy in that moment. It was a repatterning, the star people are saying. Now, when there's a repatterning, you're going to notice the old timeline and then the new timeline. This is what happened to me and my cat. My cat was a different color. I looked at him, I knew it was my cat, and I was like, that's not the color you're supposed to be. And then my eye blinked from side to side, and then he had changed back into the coloring. There's parallel realities, and we can control the flicker ratio. It's in the heart. Everything starts in the heart. We have to open the hearts, and we have to shine bright. We have to shine love and light, because when we, and you know, it's, when we shine love and light and we start to truly come inside, be at peace with the simulation, it then allows us to cast much more clean energetics into the simulation, which then in turn allows us to raise our frequency, not only for our own selves, for those people around us as well. Because when we shine bright, we shine our highest passion and potential out, which then in turn impacts every single person around us. Now, each and every one of us, especially, we're all star seeds if you're on my page. And so we came here specifically with the star people's help and guidance and support to allow us to go through this evolutionary process. Even if you were stuck into a dark moment in your life, you're still here going through the evolutionary process. You're here, you're aware, you're listening to evolutionary knowledge, which is in turn, it has an impact on the subconscious mind. When we start to have an impact on the subconscious mind, it starts to change the world that we see. Your subconscious mind is directly controlled and connected to the higher self. During different brainwave patternings, we can consciously make communication with the higher self. But the second that you're able to take the ego mind out of the way and program the subconscious mind, it is direct communication with the higher self. So you can put someone into a hypnotic trance and you can convince the subconscious mind that they are 100% healed. What will happen is they will open their eyes, they will believe that they are healed, and then all of a sudden that will reflect into their simulation. That is how powerful this is. It's all energy. So when we start to realize and recognize that everything is energy, we start to take a look around and say, what are we engaging with that is controlling our emotions? Because the emotions controls how we choose to cast our energy. And this has to start when we are talking about young children. Because young children, they're at such an age in which we are supposed to be the ones telling them how to cast their energetics. This is how you get up. This is how you do life. This is how you have fun. This is how you maintain a good work, life, school, all the different things that we do, right? And so, but if we're not there and we're not focused on this particular information and we're not teaching them how to control the emotions at the same time, then we're doing them a great disservice. However, the star people are stepping forward and they are saying that each and every child being born to your earth or planetary body right now is all of a higher caliber frequency. And this is because the evolution of your species is underway and it has already been done. So we can already start to see the children of this generation, they are showing me, has more access to the extrasensory or crystalline DNA system. The crystalline DNA system is where the extrasensory abilities become activated. Now, the crystalline DNA system is in the actual physical blood DNA. That's a junk DNA. But it is also crystallized in its nature in the energetic. So we have an energetic, and it's a 12-strand DNA system, which then in turn we start to go in and we start to turn on. Okay, so what they're showing me now is it's a 12-strand DNA system. Okay, 12-strand DNA system that is connected to the 12 points of the Merkaba field or the star field that is above your head. So when we start to go through and we start to unlock each one of these little points of that star field that's above the head, then all of a sudden it has an impact on the crystalline DNA system and it starts to automatically activate the extrasensory abilities. That's beautiful. Excellent. So you guys have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for coming. Every Tuesdays, Thursdays, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., I go live. It's a lot of information. I was doing it 4 times a week, so we cut it back to 2 because it's a lot of information to digest. Anybody who wants to watch the replay, it's on YouTube, Tree of Life Organization, or you guys can go to daniellelipton.com and you have all my social links are there. The book is coming out September 11th. So September 11th is the day, and it's going to be on Amazon direct ship to you. Now, what else do we have? Oh, this weekend I am doing an in-person session on Long Island, New York. There is still 2 spots left for a healing. So I do attachment healings in which I dive in deep and I go into your star field and I start removing all the attachments. Sometimes it can get emotional, but I'm actually doing this event with 2 other ladies and they're wonderful people. So what they're going to be doing is they're going to be doing light linguistics and they're going to be doing purple love. So that one is Sunday, I believe. On Saturday, I'm doing an in-person channeling session. Now, the in-person channeling session is more of a group focus. We are going to be talking about ascension knowledge just like this. There could potentially be some attachment removal there or light linguistics. I usually let the star people guide the sessions. So thank you guys for coming. Anybody who wants any information on this weekend's live events, just send me a message through daniellipton.com and I will respond very promptly. No shadow work Zoom tonight, guys, because I'm still focused on the book. Okay? You guys have a great, great night. Thank you so much for coming and showing up, and many, many love and blessings. Excellent.